Hey, this is Monty with Bill Brothers. Started my digital inspection. We're at a property in the San Ysidro area, and for these digital inspections, we always like to start underneath the eaves just to get an idea of the condition of the wood. And we have the fascia board, we have the rafter tails, and then we have the starter boards. And the reason why we like to start underneath the eaves is to see any potential damage. We do see, looks like a termite inspector might have poked through here, and we have some hollow wood. So there's a little bit of termite damage. And looks like this part was actually marked in red when they inspected it. So that's what we're seeing here. Now what we're looking at here is a architectural asphalt shingle roof. And we do have drip edge. Drip edge is that metal flashing that gets put along the fascia board, so anytime it rains it doesn't soak into that wood and allows it to go into the gutters. We do see some granule loss building up in the gutters right here. A couple things I wanted to point out when looking at this roof. Well, we do have some red flags on this roof, and first things first, we have the seam stagger. So that indicates that the nailing pattern is improper, and you never want to stack the seams because you want that water to flow away and not have an opportunity to soak underneath the shingles. All right, so what we have here is stacked seams. What we want, or what we look for proper seam stagger, is at least 6 inches apart. So this is an example of what it should look like consistently throughout the roof. See, we have at least 6 inches apart, and it goes staggering to the right. So we do have some inconsistency on the seam stagger. Actually marked that with this little bug. So we have one area right here. We have exposed nail heads scattered all throughout here, and this is going to be a common theme. I'll go ahead and point out more as I find them, but another example of mismatched seam stagger, we have one going in this direction, and we want to have one going to the right, and then one going to the left, and then one right under it. So again, that is a sign of an unprofessional install. Now looking at the flashings, again, we have exposed nail heads around the penetrations, and we do have some damage to the shingle tabs. You can see that shine going through. The reason why we see this is because over time those granules begin to deplete after those oils evaporate underneath the sun, and then we start to see that shingle fiberglass. Again, we have more exposed nail heads. Another thing I want to point out, looks like we might have had a old satellite dish that was removed a couple of years ago, and they actually never sealed this up. So we have exposed holes right here. Now looking at this flat section, this has modified bitumen torch down, and something we watch out for is the bleed out. So we like to see at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch of bleed out on each of these seams. We don't see any of that on here, and it looks like maybe something was dragged through here, and so the material took some damage. So that's something to note. All right, quickly moving on to the other penetrations. Again, these nails are exposed. We have busted open ridge caps. You can see it right here that these are actually starting to fall apart. Okay, we have more granule loss. You can see that shine on the backside, especially near the solar install. Looks to be professional. No complaints there. All the anchor points seem to be in order. Again, we see these flashings that are completely exposed. Same thing on the ridge caps. These are all open. Again, these are open. We have another exposed nail head peeking through the shingle. This is open. This is open as well. And then we have some satellite dishes on the back. We don't want satellite dishes bolted into the roofing material itself, because again, that is going to be a hole, as we see here. So you always want to mount these on the fascia board if possible. We do see quite a bit more granule loss on the back end over here. So given my assessment of this roof, I believe that this roof needs to be replaced. We see multiple critical areas. We do know that the owner has had leaks from the past rain, so this roof is actively leaking. And given the nature of how it was installed, well, that's not surprising. So what we want to do is tear this roof down to the wood decking, address any rotten wood that needs to get replaced. I have an idea that there is going to be a good chunk of wood replacement needed on this roof. So we tear that down to the wood decking, address all the wood, and then replace the underlayment. Right now there is felt paper underneath this. We want to replace that with a synthetic underlayment. It is way tougher and longer lasting. And then we want to replace these shingles with a new Owens Corning architectural asphalt shingle. And then for the flat section, what we want to do is trash the torch down material and replace with a TPO material. TPO is a synthetic material. It's used on a lot of commercial buildings. It is highly resistant against the UV rays, helping cool the house, and it actually creates one single membrane, and it does a fantastic job at keeping water out long term. So that's what we want to do for this. And then as usual, all the drip edge gets replaced. These get reflashed, and then we have a secure roof that's not going to leak anymore. Thank you.